Welcome to the TAF Hub. This is a brand new show brought to you by TAF Africa Global to educate you on real estate business and all the information you need to know about real estate.
After 45 years of construction and real estate development in 8 African countries, it is time to share my experience, and it can only be done in the TAF Hub. We will be inviting experts who will give you facts and the right regulations on real estate development.
Join us every week on our social media platforms for an exciting show.
It's been a year since we started the TAF Hub show, and on this episode, which is our 53rd, we'd like to recap on all our 52 episodes. We featured a variety of guests on TAF Hub, including guests we invited to speak on TAFLA. We covered 7 of the 12 values, including integrity, commitment, empathy, accountability, decision-making, leadership, and futuristic vision.
My name is Hussein Nungam. Originally, I am a trained chartered accountant, but I have not worked in finance for the last 30 years. So my definition of integrity will be about the discovery of oneself. Characters are very interesting, because characters are always recognizable. If you can imagine the characters A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, everybody recognizes them. They're always recognizable, they're constant. Now, people with integrity come across like that. If you just lift your hand, how many of you have ever told a lie? Not a very high number, in that only 12% of us will always do what we say. We'll always deliver what we mean. And those are the people of integrity. So in effect, persons of integrity in any society would be just 12% of us.
So commitment is responding to the demand of necessity. What must be done for society to exist is what must be done. Commitment is demand driven. We're not just talking about an individual attribute that you can say, I'm a committed person. Judge me, grade me. And that's how whole grading system. Judge the individual, grade the individual. Yes, you are this. That's not the issue. You grade yourself. You examine your level of growth, your level of development.
What is empathy? So empathy, your mandate is part of it. So empathy really is the capacity to recognize, to understand, and to share another person's experiences and emotions.
Before you can be responsible for anything, before you can be accountable for anything, you need to stand up and stand tall. Look at yourself in the mirror, account. You take an account of yourself. Then you look at your abilities, the gifts that has been bestowed onto you. You have all the powerful tools to go out there and be amazing and be great and stand in your power and be great in your own greatness.
If you do not gather the right information when you're making the decision, it'll cost you. We're raised in a very centralized decision-making culture. You guys know what centralized is? We sit on our hands and wait to act. All a decision is, if I walk up, I could go right, I could go left. If I know this path leads to good things on the other end, this path is uncertain, I have to make a decision. But as a culture, they could even show us what's here, and we'll still come to this point and wait. I think we have to have a culture of decentralizing decision making. Any institution in the world that functions well has a decentralized decision making scheme.
This list has 12 characters on there that Mr. Njai had shared with us. And I look at it and I think about it, and I heard what both your speakers had said. In this crowd, who can give me one Wolof word that maybe I'll divide it into 2 that gives you one? Integrity, commitment, accountability, decision making, and confidence. What Wolof word can you think of that says you have to have that? All the time. That is one thing that the elders have always told us, that for us that have left and come back or are coming back, jump. Nyaka ruslo say mok, nyaka ruslo say waju, nyaka ruslo sa bopa. Nga am jump, continue sa path. Def linga wara def lila war, nga ñëwaat. Benen Bisitego is the other half of it, the rest of the words. I think of it, empathy was the first thing that popped up to me to think about, and that's Amiite.
Yes, I do teach at the Harvard Business School, but I'm also an investor and I'm also an advisor. And one of the biggest and most important investments that I make is the investment in people. And I'm here to invest in you, just as all the folks on this stage and as Brother TAF has done as a part of the Academy. I've got 4 things I want to share with you, and I encapsulate them in what I call leadership capital. And I teach this to the students at the Harvard Business School, students from all over the globe, coming to learn about leadership and how to be better leaders in the countries that they come from. And so there's 4 elements to leadership capital. And actually, before I give you the elements, why leadership capital? We spend so much time talking about financial capital, and some of my fellow speakers have talked about, you wake up and say, well, I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I don't have financial resources. I think more important than financial capital, what you need is leadership capital. And what do I mean by leadership capital? First, you gotta have some capability, right? You gotta know what your superpower is, that thing that you bring to the table that is unique.
My name is Mohamed Jagana. I'm an entrepreneur. My background is more from an accountant. I joined our family business a couple of years ago and saw an opportunity and started my own businesses. Some of them fail, some of them succeed. And along the way, I am here today talking to you about futuristic vision. The response from a blind person when asked, what is worse than being blind? And please, I would love you to listen to this very carefully. He said, then this is the response from Helen Keller, is having a sight with no vision. Can you imagine that? Having a sight with no vision. That is worse than being blind, and that's coming from a blind lady. Visionary leadership is self-conquering. If you are able to conquer yourself from fears, if you are to spot your position in your quest for greatness, then you're trudging on the right path for self-knowledge, which is the beginning of becoming an effective leader.
We've also had a range of guests from the public sector, including government ministers, who talked on a range of subjects, including climate change and road expansion.
As Mr. Njai said, Momodu Bisar is the shift of changes in temperature and weather patterns. Many people have said global warming, but it's beyond that, because climate change also can cause more rainfall in some places and floods. It can cause more hurricanes and so forth. It can also cause drought. So global warming is not only the impact of climate change. Fossil fuels are coal, petrol, and natural gas. And those are the reasons why we have this climate change now. So it's a big concern. Unless we reduce those fossil fuels, the impacts are going to be more severe every year. Even Banjul is threatened because it's very low lying, and the more we have sea level rise, the more the water will come into Banjul, and then it's going to be too costly to protect it. So you might have to evacuate from Banjul in the future. The sand mining on the beach was the main cause that it was rapid in Gambia. That's why it's banned. You know, nowadays you cannot mine sand on the beach. If you remember, you just go to the beach with a truck, right on the beach and mine sand. And it was banned, and I was at NEA, and we were enforcing the ban. Even we paid the military to patrol the beaches at night and arrest people who are mining illegally.
The laws are there, but it seems that not everything is enforced. So there's no use that we have policies made and then we don't enforce them. When we enforce them, it is better for everybody. The environment is our concern, so let us not think that when it rains, it only rains on one roof and not on mine. Or when the wind blows, it can take my roof off, but not yours. That is not the case. And the environment affects everybody, so let us protect it for our own well-being. Today, we have a big surprise, somebody quite big. What I would call a big fish. We've got a big fish today.
Yes, we did.
Viewers, today we have nobody other than the Honorable Ibrahim Silla, who is the Minister of Works, Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure.
We are working on other priority projects like the bypass coming from the Denton Bridge, going all the way through Mandina Ring and then straight to Mandina Bar, and then cross to Siliti border, so that heavy-duty vehicles that are coming from the port of Banjul will not have to go through this heavy congested area of the Serakundas and then Brikama and then to the border at Siliti. So we are expecting that with this initiative, you can cut the travel time by more than 1 hour. That alone, because there will be no congestion on that road. And we want to make that a toll system so that whoever invests in that, and also another facility along the Senegambia corridor on the other side near the where you have the Senegambia bridge, so that it can serve the both ends of Senegal. This is critical because if you look at our strategic location within the region, if you have a dry port in Basse, that will cut travel time for vehicles going to say Dakar, for ECOWAS, interstate trade, by more than almost 3 hours.
The Honorable Dr. Sekou Jabi, who is the first Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia. So, Dr. Jabi, you're welcome.
Welcome.
Right. Thank you, TAF, Mustafa Jai, and colleague Mariama. I'm glad to be here and to talk about this very important real estate sector. As I said, regulation is a guide. Regulation supports, it enables all those developmental issues, really. So it doesn't mean come regulation, no, you cannot build this here, no, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. But this is just to take into account people that are ready for the industry, people that have the wherewithal to go into the industry, are there in the industry. Not just any time they can go in. Every other day you have problems in the newspapers. I bought land, I paid my last payment, I don't have my documents, I don't have this. Some people don't even have capital. We need the government's role in this place to be able to guide the sector properly. The importance of it cannot be overemphasized. It addresses housing poverty. We need to know in a year how much housing units are being built. This is adding to quality of life. This is adding to you can even prolong your life. We need to support this sector. Regulation, as I said, is supportive. We need to support it, come up with guidelines, come up with registration requirements, that the right people, the people with the wherewithal, the people with the interest to go in there, not like that's profitability in this industry. You go in there and dirty hold the waters, that kind of thing, and move on, really.
We also had quite a few guests from the private sector. One thing they all had in common was their passion, their drive, and determination.
Mr. Moob is the head of corporate banking at Trust Bank Limited. And I will just allow Mr. Moob to introduce himself. And we will not mind even if you talk about your bank a bit. We will not charge you for the marketing. So, Mr. Moob, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Uncle TAF, for inviting me to your program, TAF Hub, which I have been keenly following. I think you guys have been doing a great job.
Thank you.
Under this program. And thank you for the offer, too, for me to talk about the very institution I'm from and the institution that made me who I am today. Important to say, Trust Bank is one of the largest or biggest banks in the Gambia, and then we pride ourselves by saying we are proudly Gambian. So I worked with his team then in 2000, I think 18-19, to ensure that really we have a mortgage, home mortgage loan product being launched. And in consultation with the regulators, we were able to come up with a mortgage product that we thought it was a good timing then, because banks have always had this challenge of the supply side of the relatively longer term deposits that they will need to really put in relatively longer term mortgage loans like we are having right now. So it was a very good process. It was developer pushed, and here we are now. At least three banks are actually engaged in the mortgage market. We've seen more than 50% by increasing it. You know, likely, if you given the background, social security or government used to be the main supplier of this real estate and all these other things until Mr. Mustafa Njai and now the entire gamut of the real estate sector come into this play. But it was mainly social security in the form of estate developments. You will remember the Bakuta estate. I think that was the first one.
How affordable are our houses to, well, I don't want to say poor. I hate to use the word poor, but we the poor people. That's the way it's written.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever house the poor.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere in the world where you can provide private sector-led housing for the so-called poor. I don't want, honestly, I hate to use the word poor. So those people should be targeted, for social housing.
Yeah.
And social housing, it's not normally provided by the private sector. It is government that will have funds that are for social development, and so with using other incentives to bring down the prices of housing as low as possible.
Yep.
And yet still not everybody can afford it. But we think that we want to take up our responsibility. And one of the things that we want to address is access to land. So if we make land accessible to some of them, because most public servants, I would really want to target now the public servants, because you have quite a huge, clientele of public servants, and we know how much they earn. So one, location is important, because I can tell you that land anywhere from here to Brikama, it's more or less almost unaffordable to public servants. There's a premium on it already.
Yes.
So land is bought, from the local authorities, who are the owner or the traditional owners. And there's a premium now. Everybody knows how expensive land is. So if we are into development, we need to buy land, from these people, and then add value by bringing all the services. And the services that we bring are also expensive. Then our margins. So it is my conclusion that for public servants, we are not even thinking of building houses for them. We need to go back to the traditional way of access to land. That we are looking at land beyond Brikama. And we need to do this. And to address the need for public servants. And we would like to work with banks like yourselves, that let's look at how to help, the public servants to be able to afford or access this land. And one of the ways that public servants need to be aware, because there's also financial discipline to be able to do this. And one way is that, look, equity is always a problem. The initial deposit of 25%. So they must be disciplined to save.
Yeah.
That you must save for your equity. There's nowhere in the world that you go where people give you 100% mortgage. So this is a product we are looking at, and we will approach the bank to see how we can bring the price as low as possible. Margins for us will be very low. It will be seen as part of our corporate social responsibility, where we will not be looking at our normal margins, but very low margins, and then you put the basic in place. Then probably the banks can also look at it as probably part of their corporate social responsibility to make it as affordable as possible. Biggest YouTuber in Africa.
I came to Africa in the year 2019 with 100,000 people, and I can say that coming to Africa was the best decision I ever did, because it took me 4 years to get that 100,000 in Africa, 2 years to hit 1 million.
Wow, you grow so fast.
It's very fast. I think being a YouTuber, your content is very important in terms of what you want people to consume, and your content determines how fast you're gonna grow. When I started exposing African entrepreneurs, Africans were like, oh, you mean he's an African? You mean he owns that? Especially when I interviewed Uncle TAF. So what he's doing, so people were shocked, and that's how my channel picked up like so fast. And I believe that if you're a content creator, think about your content. And your content will change your life.
He did a video on me, which today is trending on 500,000 views on YouTube. And then on Facebook, it's over 1 million views and still trending. For that reason, everywhere I go across the continent, people will make reference to this video. So on behalf of my staff, we want to thank you for exposing us to the world. I am a 65-year-old youth man.
Yes.
And all I do is I have fun. Everything I do without fun, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And Africans need to learn this, that when you have your staff, one, be empathetic. Put yourself in their position. Empower them. Once you empower them, they will love your business more than you do.
If you have a smartphone, if you can use or you can survey a smartphone, you qualify to be a YouTuber.
But here we are. Actually, the word Jollof comes from our tribe. Jollof is the land and Wolof is the tribe. So what are Gambians and Senegalese doing to show the world that Jollof rice comes from Gambia?
It comes from here, but we cook it better.
No, we cook it better. No, we cook it better.
No. Gambian Jollof is the best. Personally, I want to say that Gambia is a beautiful country and you guys should appreciate your country.
It's really an honor to be here. I remember being very, very pleased when I received the invitation.
You know, because we hear a lot these days about smart cities, which we are trying to build in Gunjur. The TAF city is a smart city. And when you say smart, I know and I assume it's technology.
Right.
So can we probably elaborate further, not on the marketing aspect, but more on the buildings themselves, making it smart, and also in its role, technology's role, its role within real estate?
When something is smart, it's able to make its decisions, and it's able to make decisions based on data that it receives. I usually like to think of this in terms of what problem is it that you want to solve, right? You can make your household smart in a way that it efficiently controls the consumption of electricity. So when we think of, in the case of a smart city, we can say, okay, we want to use these technologies to make electricity consumption more efficient, right? So that's the problem to solve. And then we can use that to determine what we would deploy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jai, Ms. Colley. So I'm a private legal practitioner. I've studied in the UK, came to Gambia, did most of my training in Gambia. I worked for various law firms before eventually starting up my own law firm, Farage Andrews Law Practice with a partner. Now land transactions are moving. It really should follow with the modern trends that these things need to be fast. If you want development or if you want to encourage development, whether it's local investors or international investors, we need to find solutions, and that is, let's tweak the law and let's remove the minister from being the physical person to actually sign the consent.
Today, we have with us Mr. Kimbeng Ta, who is the Principal State Counsel at the Attorney General's Chambers and Minister of Justice. Mr. Ta, you're welcome to the TAF.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jai. It's a pleasure to be on TAF. A lot of the land is first acquired as agricultural land, but very often that land is in turn sold, demarcated and sold for residential purposes. So there is actually a procedure under the law for that, which is also something a lot of purchasers need to look out for. When you're purchasing land, you need to look, first of all, does the individual have a certificate of occupancy? And do they have is there a land use report or land use certificate for that piece of land? Now, if it's agricultural use, there is no impediment to agricultural use being converted to residential use. However, there are certain procedures.
My name is Marie Senghor. I'm a civil engineer by profession, but right now I'm a contractor doing buildings, doing roads, and doing civil works as well. And we own a construction company called Bajam Enterprise Limited, and we've been in the business since officially registered 2000, became incorporated in 2013, but seriously just doing construction since 2007. Nobody, that's what is missing here. Nobody tells you how to run a business. What makes Bajam unique is that I think my background as a consultant and being a client, because when I was at the ministry, I was a client, makes me emphasize quality and having a client happy over my bottom line.
you were a female doing road construction. I think you are the only, lady who's running a construction firm. And not only construction, but road construction.
It's a pleasure to be here, especially sharing a platform with you. I am a very proud Gambian. I went to school here, grew up here, and literally my childhood, everything is Gambia. If you want something, you have to work, you have to invest, you have to sacrifice. Poor man, I am not allowed to fail, Mariam. I am not allowed to fall. Even though falling and failing is part of life, but poor man, I am not at that moment.
My name is Mamadou Lamine Cisse. I am the sales manager, TAF Africa Global.
Now, I know payment plans are very important when it comes to acquiring a land. What types of payment plans do you guys have available?
Yeah, currently we are offering 3 different payment plans. The first one being outright. In the local, you can call it cash buying, and you enjoy some discount in it. The second payment option is called the stage payment. Stage payment is done according to the progress of the building. The third payment option that we are offering is the mortgage. TAF Africa Global is partnering with some local banks, and these local banks are offering up to 75% financing to qualify buyers who are interested to buy TAF properties with only a 25% down payment.
There is a common misconception that TAF homes are unaffordable. And as a salesperson, what are your thoughts on this?
My point is that people don't seem to understand the difference between social housing and affordable housing. At TAF, our focus is been making housing accessible and affordable. If you look at our current portfolio today, we're offering from $570,000 up to $8 million. And these are like from service plots, fence and gated service plots up to story buildings, bungalows, and so on. So we offer a range of properties. And then we'll expect everybody to come in there based on your pocket. So in a nutshell, our target market has been middle and higher income. As far as TAF is concerned, our focus has always been making housing accessible and affordable to everyone. And this misconception of TAF houses are not meant for average Gambians.
No, I mean there's no fixed response at times to some of things like this, and they can still be right.
Yeah.
So you can look at the glass and say, okay, it is half full, and I can look at it, it's half empty.
It's half empty, yeah.
So whilst we will say yes, our houses are affordable, others can say it's not affordable. But this is not only in the Gambia. But we just want to state that as a Pan-African housing developer, we will continue to advocate and to do everything possible to make our houses affordable to all. There's no distinction.
Now that you've heard from everyone, let's review some TAF City pictures. Let's take it back to when we launched in October 2021, up to as recent as last week. Enjoy. Remember, the Diddy Summer Sale is still on and you can get up to 5% discount on any plots at TAF City. We hope to see you soon.